So one of the main things I want to hope that all of you understand and see through all of this is you are not alone in this process. There are many staff members who are very happy to help you and help you navigate the school system. My department, the Family Partnership Team, we're here specifically to help families navigate the school system. And with that, I'll start my presentation on tips and resources for families with high school students. So the purpose of today's presentation is to inform parents new to the U.S. public school system about navigating Issaquah School District schools. That might even be families coming from private school or homeschool and so forth. It's also to help provide you with resources on where you can find answers and help for future questions. So I am not able to answer all of your questions because we have specialists like school counselors and athletic directors who can tell you the details about different programs. But the liaisons and I can help you connect with different people to help you better understand and figure out what to do as you're helping your child and supporting your child in school. So the first one I'm going to start with is the district website because it's a great way to jump off and see other sites and learn more information about schools. The reason it's saying that, but it's not true. We will navigate and there we go. So the district office. So if you look at the district website, so it's schools, and then you have your different portals, family access, all of these that you did for EVP. But my program lives under here, Programs and Services, Cultural and Family Partnership. If you've never gone to this website before, I encourage you to do that, especially if you're new to the school district and you've never used Canvas before. I will be doing an event for families to help them better understand Canvas. And also we'll talk a little bit more about family access, but a lot of the events, and I already have a recording from last year posted here. So when school starts, you're welcome to look at that, or you can come to the live event. Middle and high school, we have many questions parents have asked. At the end of 8th grade, I do an event for 8th grade transition and all of the resources. Some of you I noticed had questions about Running Start or WANIC, which is our technical college options. So all of that information is also over here. So we have many resources on here, and this event will also be posted over here by the end of next week. So here you can see tips and resources for middle school. Soon there will be one for high school. So one of the things to also remember is that the website is translatable. You can use the Google feature. We also have a lot of documents that you can ask, especially for big things like IEPs or 504s to have it translated for you. And as I said earlier, that site includes our events and information that you might be interested in attending in future dates. And also you can sign up for those events on this website. So if you go to events, you will see that all of our events are posted. So if you're attending the Canvas event, you can sign up for the Canvas night. If you need a little bit more handholding to understand Canvas, we also have an in-person where people can sit with you and kind of help you navigate through that. And then finally, we have different liaisons. We have 3 liaisons, and each liaison works at a different school. So Ina Gangurdi works at Liberty High School and all the feeder schools that feed into that. Wenli Mithal works at Skyline High School and Liliana at Issaquah High School. So as the school year starts, you're also welcome to reach out to one of them to help you answer any questions. They work at the schools, different schools 1 day a week, and then they come to the district office on Fridays. We help parents with different events and programs. So those parents who are trying to get resources, understand schools, they work with the liaisons and myself to navigate the school system. So the next big thing to note is a district calendar. Those of you who had a child in middle elementary school, you are aware of where that calendar lives. In high school, the calendar is slightly different because you're going to see that there's a semester schedule, but this calendar is over here. I know, and next year's calendar is also here. It shows you the inclement weather days. So when we have no school days, such as September 2nd, November 11th, Thanksgiving break, the winter holidays, and so forth. So keep this in mind, and it's a great resource to have. In addition, the school calendar, honestly, is one of the big places, one of the big ones that you might need to be aware of. Oh, I don't think I started sharing. Thank you very much. I was busy talking. Thank you. I'm so sorry about that. So let me just go back to the website. I'm just going to show you that for a second. So this is the Cultural and Family Partnership site, and it lives under Programs and Services, Cultural Partnership, Program and Services, Cultural and Family Partnership. You have the links. You have the links for the liaisons, their email, their telephone number, and they also have cell phones because they work in so many buildings. You might need to get a hold of them and different while they are working in different buildings. Also, Wenli speaks Chinese, Liliana speaks Spanish, Ina speaks Hindi and Marathi, so they speak multiple languages. We help families with different languages also, and can use interpreters to work with families in different languages. We also have our events posted, right here, and you can join us for the Canvas event. We'll talk more about what Canvas is soon. And then, so you can click over here to register for any of the events that you might need. So let's catch up to where I was, the district and school calendar. So the district and school calendar, the school calendar is actually something very important. Many of you are asking questions about different dates and such, and this is where you're going to find that information. And so, for example, I have the links to all of this, and if you complete the feedback form, I'm going to send you the entire slide deck so you can see the different dates. So some people are asking, when will I see the schedules? The schedules have already been released in Family Access, but they don't have the teacher name and room number. So you will be able to see that on the 26th. I honestly usually print it out or write it down for students because very often students don't remember where they should be going, and when they get to school, they might forget. At Issaquah High, for example, and Liberty, they are trying to enforce, or they're enforcing a policy of not having phones out in class, and they're trying to minimize phone use. So check with your schools about the phone policy. But I am going back to the olden days. I'm giving my child a paper printed out if possible with her schedule, room number, so that she has this. And just a little bit of background information. My daughter is at Issaquah High School. She is a junior, and a junior is an 11th grader. So many of you might be having freshmen, so ninth graders coming in. So this calendar, the upcoming events, gives you a lot of information. It's the first day of school. You can see there's an adjusted schedule. And if you click on it, it even shows you what that schedule is going to be like that day. And that's an important feature, right? Because sometimes, especially that first week of school in high school, because very often, note, on Friday, it's also an adjusted schedule. So now Friday, the schedule looks a little bit different. And so having this information or making it accessible to the students can be really helpful. And then on Labor Day is on Monday, and then again, Tuesday, September 3rd, they are going to be doing textbook distribution. And so they have an adjusted schedule, adjusted 7-period schedules again. So there can be a lot of different schedules. And honestly, the students do really a good job. They make announcements and teachers help them navigate through that. But some kids who might be a little bit anxious, a great way to help them might be to share the schedule or show them where they can get it and they can write it down. They can have it on a paper or something so they know what their schedule is, because knowing what you're supposed to do for some kids is really helpful and it helps them feel a sense of control. Now, this is for Issaquah High. No worries. I have not forgotten about you, Liberty and High Skyline. So you can see Liberty also has that. All the schools follow a very similar format for doing the upcoming calendar. And so if you go to the school, right at our school, or actually even if you go to their home page, you will see if you scroll down the upcoming events, it will be listed there. So home page, very visible, so you can pull it up right on your phone even and look at all of this. A parent asked me about when the child can pick up their laptop at Liberty. It started today and there'll be some early laptop checkout tomorrow also. But in general, if you're not able to go and pick it up yet today or tomorrow, you can also get the laptops in school. So don't worry about it. The child will get their laptop if you don't get it yet. If you didn't get it today or tomorrow, uh, they will get it during the first week of school. But this is a good place to look for other important dates. For example, at Liberty, the photo picture day comes up really early, so you might note that, buy a photo package if you're interested. Then there's some information such as curriculum night. We'll talk more about what curriculum night is, but I just want to show you that all the schools, their calendars are on and available. This is Skyline. I noted that many of the families signed up for today's event are from Skyline. And so note again, first day of school, their schedule is available. Welcome back assembly, they have a different schedule, it's available. Then every month, schools have to do some kind of a emergency drill, fire drill, earthquake drill, just different drills in general. They'll announce the different types. And so for the drills, they have a different schedule here. And so that one is also posted on the website. So a lot of the information is posted on the website for you to be able to check it out. And then they have a calendar format for this. So honestly, as a high school parent, I'm going to adjusted schedule means that it is not the regular schedule. It has been changed and it is not the normal bell schedule. So let me show you something over here. Our school, you'll see that they have a bell schedule, and the bell schedule tells you, what's the schedule for Monday, Thursday, Friday, and then Tuesday and Wednesday. So it has the regular, we call it a regular week schedule where things are not in flux because of distribution, assemblies, and so forth. However, sometimes they, like all of these other days, are probably going to be regular bell schedule where you see it on our school under bell schedule. However, there are some times where you're going to have a slightly different schedule because of the day is different. And so for those schedules, because they've changed the schedule, the time the classes end, the periods, they're posting it. So for example, on the first day of school, 9th grade orientation is from 8 to 11. And so after that, all students have lunch and then they have the different periods. And so they're showing you what that schedule is for the students. On the drill extravaganza, because of the drill is going to be 45 minutes long. So all of the other classes, the periods are slightly shorter. Okay. So mainly this is not honestly going to impact you. This is for you to know how you can support your child. So when your child is anxious or has questions, what's the day going to be like? What's the bell schedule going to be like? You can then teach them how you can get this information. That's one of the reasons I'd invited you to invite your child if they want, so they can get these tips too. New students, they will also, many of them have new student orientation, either the first day of school or on August 28th. So they can also get this information from them, but sometimes the first week of school, it's a lot of information coming at you. So sometimes it's nice to be able to process some of this information slowly. The calendar also will have some of our teacher work days and no school days, a snow makeup day, and the last day of school. So there have been some changes to cell phone policies at many of the middle and high schools. So if you're new to the school district, doesn't really impact you. You're going to learn this new schedule in general. But what I would highly recommend is that you read the announcements that the school sent out. So for example, today, those of you at Issaquah High should have received an email at 5:01 with the school announcement. Those of you at Liberty and Skyline should have received an email from your school, and that email would be the school bulletin. And this is, for example, what my school bulletin, because as I told you, I had a child in Issaquah High School, and this is what the bulletin looks like. It talks about, the new to IHS night, the first day of school schedule, what happens if you don't like your child's schedule, or if there's a problem with your child's schedule, how do you change that? What about the attendance policy? Canvas login has changed for all teachers and students. So if your child is brand new, not a problem. They're going to learn how to do it now. But when they get their laptop, they'll also talk about how to log into Canvas, but there's some information about that. If your child is a junior and senior and driving to school, it talks about parking passes. But the point is, I'm not going to go over all the details in Issaquah Highs, but the point is, it is an important thing to read. And it comes out every Thursdays by 6 p.m. And very often they have information and links on how to get that. So this is what Liberty High School's announcement may have looked like. This was a letter from the principal, and then Skyline's announcement and message from the principal also had some important dates, picture dates, curriculum night dates, counselors and assistant principals for your child. So all of this information can be found, and you can learn a lot from about the school through the school bulletins. So I highly recommend that you make some time every week to read that. So sometime on Friday or Saturday, just make sure you have some time to read that. And some of the topics you might want to chat with your child. When I got my daughter's email from the school on Issaquah High School, I took screenshots and I just sent it to her so she was able to see it. She can't really have her phone out in the middle of the class day. So we'll probably end up printing like a little cheat sheet so she can see it and have it ready for the course of the week. So those are things that you and your child can work out. How can I keep track of my classes and the bell schedule if I don't have my cell phone? Like, could I have it on my laptop? Do I have my laptop checked out? So the conversation for that as a child starts school, especially if they're nervous or they're new and unsure, would be very helpful for them. So important dates coming up. Skyline and Issaquah High School, they have a curriculum night on September 10th. And I would strongly recommend that all of you attend this event because it's honestly not so much about curriculum. They do talk about curriculum and what your child's going to be learning, but the teachers honestly talk a lot more about their classroom policies and procedures, their grading practices, what the expectations are, what happens if your child is absent, how your child makes up work sometimes, just some really important things. And it's helpful for you to know this information so that if there's a struggle, if there's a problem, you know what you can do to help guide your child. Because honestly, by high school, you become the child's coach through this. You are not the helicopter parent, just like telling them exactly and micromanaging them, because in the American school system, the idea is at the high school level, you as a parent are kind of pulling back and you're guiding the child and you're watching and you're kind of steering them in the right direction as they need help, but you're trying to help them figure it out. So that's the reason why curriculum night is really helpful, because very often the teachers will guide you and say, hey, if this happens, you should have your child do this, come and see me or send me an email. So it gives a lot of information on what you as a parent can do to help your child and coach your child through the class and through their class. Liberty's curriculum night is on September 17th. They're all evening events in person. So look at that and kind of save that on your calendar. There's a welcome to ninth event, and we talked a little bit about that when we looked at upcoming events, but Liberties is on the 28th and Issaquah High School is on the 28th evening. Skyline is their first day of school. I like to put picture day in my phone and save the date so I can just remind my kid to make sure, they're dressed for success that day, and that I bought the picture package if I'm planning on buying it. And then laptop distribution dates are also posted in the school's webpage. So one of the tips that Issaquah High School had done, so I'm not quite sure if Liberty and Skyline have it, but I'm sure they do, is that to join the social media page. Honestly, I am awful with social media. I don't do Instagram, but I specifically joined and following Instagram, especially for the high school, just so that I know what's going on there. And they post really good tips. So very often, again, I will take a screenshot and say, "Hey, Tasha, my daughter, like, remember this? Did you see this? Are you aware?" Or just for me to know. And so that, again, in ninth grade, especially, it was helpful for me to guide her. Now she's a junior, she's fine, and I don't need to do anything to help. So grading calendar. Your students have semester grading. So if your child went to middle school in the school district or in the US, you had a trimester period. So now you're going to grading and a semester period, and the semester will end in January, and the second semester will end in June. This grading system is a little bit different because the finals week, that last week of January, you are going to have, again, a different schedule. Usually they only do 2 finals per day, and then the students are released by 11 o'clock a.m., except on Wednesday. So keep that in mind, because as first time ninth grade parents are surprised to see that, because kids are usually not released. Also, finals in high school are a big deal. So it is usually a big part of their grade. Students are usually studying a lot for it. So it is a big thing. It can be stressful for the child. So those are times that you might want to make sure you don't have appointments, you're not traveling, just so they don't miss any of the finals. And then after all the finals, their grades are usually posted first in Canvas and then in Family Access. And so I would recommend that you check, or they can check their grades to make sure that that they have that information and they know what their grades are. If your child is taking a semester long elective class, note that that means the next semester, so starting late January, February, they're probably going to have a new class. So that's for students who are taking, let's say, PE, and then they have a different elective the second semester. But their year-long classes, it'll stay the same. They just have a final the end of January, and then the grading system starts brand new again afterwards. So these grades count, and so keep that in mind, because these are the grades that are going to go on your transcript. We'll talk more about that soon. So preparing for first year of school, you're just buying general supplies. Unlike middle school and elementary school, they don't really have a supply list. Honestly, for high school, I'd wait for them to start school to see what the teachers, because there's so many different teachers and expectations, what their teachers are looking for. A backpack, very often, depending on the type of math, they might need different calculators. So even that, I wouldn't buy a calculator until you know exactly what kind of calculator the teacher is looking for. There are lockers, especially, like, for example, at Issaquah High, there are lockers, but honestly, most kids don't use it, but it's there. Lunch bags, they look different than the elementary and middle school lunch bags. They're usually just tote bags, but be aware of what the kid needs for that. Most students will have some kind of sleeve or something for their laptop. Just make sure that they have a nice section in their backpack for their laptop so that it's safe. And if possible, visit the school before the first day. Those of you who are ninth graders, go to that August 28th event so that your child can be familiarized with the school. And I know for Issaquah High on August 28th, they do tours at Skyline, because they're doing this event on the first day of school, August 29th. They'll probably be doing tours too. So be aware that the school will also do things to help ninth graders get familiar and get accustomed to the school quite a bit. So if your child is a 10th, 11th, or 12th grader, you might need to help them get familiar with the school. If possible, I would take them to school before school starts and just help them navigate and walk around the school and see what the school layout is. Or you might check with the school to see will your child be assigned like a student helper to just help them figure out the first week of school. They usually do that in middle schools. I'm not quite sure if Skyline and Liberty do that at for the older kids. So laptops will be, some of them are being passed out early. Most of the schools are going to wait till the first week of school. You already signed a form during EVP about the responsible use. And many of the textbooks are on our digital books. So they will pass out some textbooks at school, like hard copy books, but most often students don't carry those textbooks around. Sometimes also the hard copy textbooks are optional. The students can take that paper textbook. Very often students choose not to check out a paper textbook, but they will use the digital version of the book online. Access, there's something known as Class Link, and it's embedded in their Canvas, which is their learning management platform. And they can go into Canvas, their learning management platform, and they can go into Class Link and they can open their textbook. So if you're familiar with the middle school Class Link, it's very similar, but Canvas is great that it has a lot of the applications, Office 365, their Class Link, it has links to Zello, something that the students in sophomores, seniors, juniors use to help them kind of explore future plans called High School and Beyond. So there are many of those things, and all of those programs are embedded in their Canvas account. They'll use their laptops nearly every single day, and the district prefers that students use their laptops because very often there's certain digital software that is not compatible with other computers, or if your child is having an issue on the computer, teachers know how to navigate the school assigned laptops, but not other laptops. Also for test taking and so forth, sometimes at school is very specific. It's also to minimize cheating because there are different, different things embedded on the computers, the laptops, to prevent that. So that's why the school has required district software such as web filtering, screen monitoring, and special applications. So the district is unable to install these programs on personal laptops, so they ask that students use their assigned laptops. Health. There aren't many vaccines required for high school students. If you've never been to high school in the US before, you might want to make sure your immunizations are all updated. Your nurse, the school nurse, will contact you if you're missing any of the immunizations to make sure you have them, because student has vaccines there are vaccine requirements before school starts, and you have a certain number of days that you can attend school before you're required to have them. Also, if your child is sick, has a fever, has diarrhea, please make sure you're not sending them to school, because there are many students in the classroom and we don't want to expose other kids to the illness. And each school, by the way, has their own school nurse. And if your child is ill, they'll be sent to the nurse's office. And in the nurse's office, there's a nurse and an assistant, a classified staff who's not medically trained, who can then call you, can monitor your child, and so forth. Attendance. In Washington State, attendance is compulsory for those students aged 8 to 18 to attend schools. There are, of course, some exceptions. If you're going to be absent, pre-arrange any absences, meaning call the email your school office, or there are actually pre-arranged absence forms. So those of you who are traveling or going to India or going to China or Japan or Korea or Europe or whatever for a certain number of times and you're missing school, there are pre-arranged absences for 1 to 3 days or more than 3 days. But the main thing is the student is responsible for missed homework. It's not excused. And so when you are back, you need to make sure you have made it all up. And the teachers don't give packets or anything for the work that you're going to miss ahead of time. The expectation is students will just follow along on Canvas and kind of keep up and know and be aware of what's going on. And when they come back, they will catch up for the lessons they have missed. So Canvas. So again, Canvas is a learning management system. It's the portal that we use for students. There's a portal for parents to use and one for students to use. Parents are really strongly encouraged not to use a child's Canvas account because a child's Canvas account has access to student names and information, other students in the class, and it really violates privacy for parents to then use the children's account. I hear stories about that all the time, and it's really unacceptable. So please make sure you use your own Canvas account. Now, after the first day of school, August 29th, it usually takes a while for new families to be in sync with the Canvas platform. But what I do is after the first day of school, download on your phone the Canvas app. Honestly, the Canvas app is the best. It's very easy to check your child's grade. It literally will open up right to the grades and so forth. And you can see immediately, it'll have the class, the teacher, and then the percentage, the grade. And then you can click on it to see if your child is missing anything. The online, the on the computer, it gives you a lot more details. On the phone, you're not going to get all of those details, but it's quick, it's easy, and really we're trying to teach kids to be responsible about the nitty gritty and for you to just say, I see you have an assignment missing. Is there any way, and you haven't done that, or just say, hey, what's going on? But it's to encourage a conversation, right? We don't want to be like helicoptering our students, but we want to figure out how we can help them. Like, do you need help with doing it? Did you turn it in and the teacher might not have seen it? It depends on what type of a child you have, right? I mean, if they're forgetting assignments, they need it, or maybe they're struggling getting something turned in, or they don't know how. So it's a conversation to be had with a lot of our students. And then again, just a reminder that we will have an event with a lot more information, how to set up the dashboard and the Canvas on the computer. And then also we'll give some tips for using the Canvas on your phone. There are also Canvas resources in many languages. So I know there are some families here who speak other languages. So note there are Canvas resources in many languages on the Canvas website. So you can go and see more information about Canvas. They have an entire site, and there is a parent login to Canvas, and it'll tell you exactly how to do it. And there are many tutorials and everything. But just remember, don't do it, honestly, to be safe, do it after Labor Day weekend. So lunch. Lunch in high school is quite big because there are many, many options. Unlike elementary school where there's fewer options, high school lunches are a lot more. Also in high school, there's something called a la carte, where kids can buy chips and drinks and some other stuff. So many times kids will buy that, but there's also the food, the hot lunches. And for students who are receiving free and reduced lunch, only the hot lunch is part of that free and reduced lunch program. Very often parents will put some money in the student's lunch account. I usually put at least $20 or $30 in both my children's lunch account just to make sure that they have food in case they forgot to take their lunch. So if you go to myschoolbucks.com, you can then sign in and put money in. It costs like $2.50, or you can just write a check and send it with your child to the school, and the people at the lunch, we used to call them lunch ladies, but that's sexist, could be lunch men too. But the people working in the lunchroom can take the check and deposit it and put money in your child's account. The menu is also helpful for some students because they want to know exactly what is going to be on the menu. So let's look at September's menu, for example. You can see, there's tacos and plant-based taco meat. There's French toast because it's a very it's an earlier lunch, or sometimes they have Wednesday French toast type thing. Chicken teriyaki here. But the big thing for you to note is that they do have meatless options or vegetarian options, really. And then if you go to the digital menu, you can also look for the nutritional information, the ingredients, and also a lot of the allergens. Okay, so keep that in mind. A lot of kids want, you as a parent want to make sure your child is eating well, but the child wants to know what are their options. And many parents pack lunches. Schools have microwaves for students to use. Freshmen and sophomores are not allowed off campus, despite what your child might tell you. Usually juniors and seniors are the only ones allowed. And if your child is allowed off campus, you would have had a question in EVP, and you would have had to check off that you're giving your child permission to leave campus during EVP. So if you're not sure, think back on EVP. Did you have that question for your child to be able to leave campus? So my child, for example, is a junior this year at Issaquah High, and I did have that question in EVP because she's a junior, and I gave her permission. So now she can walk off Issaquah High School campus and go down to Front Street and pick up something to eat if she needs to. But honestly, lunch is only 30 minutes, so a bit tight. Transportation. So if your child is a ninth grader especially, and is going to be riding the school bus, the transportation information is available. Transportation is really not available for most students for sports in high school. For many of the clubs, you should check to see if transportation is available. It's called an activity bus schedule. And please note that your child will be coming home on Wednesdays a lot later, because Wednesday is a late day. So the bus schedule, school starts, I forgot to mention that, so let's make sure we go to that one. So Issaquah High School, for example, the bus schedule, the bell schedule. Note that on Monday through Thursday, school starts at 8 o'clock. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, school starts at 8 o'clock, and Wednesday, school starts at 10:10, and school ends at 3:45. So my daughters usually come home around 4:30 on Wednesday. So it's a much longer day. So if you're planning, doing stuff, sports, after school activities, just be aware that Wednesdays is a pretty late day for our students. So going back to buses, so same thing. So for buses, if you go to the bus website, there's one of the sites called Find Your Bus Route. So when you go to that, you will see that they have a way for you to find your bus route information. If you have not done so already, you might want to do so. You're going to click on here to view. There are instructions on how you find your child's bus route, and it's basically their first name, period, last name, and then their code is their birth date. Okay, so their birthday is their password. And so when you click on it, you're going to be able to put that information. And then when you click here, work with students, that'll show you your students. It's a lot of clicking to see that. And the good news is, once you get in for one child, you'll have gotten for all your children. And then you can see their bus routes so that you know where they will be getting their buses. If your child is less than 1 mile from the school, just note that you might not have a bus route and they are going to have to walk. Also be aware that in case of an emergency, you might have something known as a snow route. And in case of an emergency, let's say there's snow, and the school will send an announcement saying because of the snow, buses on limited transportation, use snow route. So you're then going to use the snow route information, and then you're going to log in and it'll tell you what the bus route is on those snow days, okay? You will also be asked, and in general, if you're new to the Issaquah School District, please take time to read the information for the emergency bulletin that will be coming out from the school sometime in October, because it tells you what to do in case of power outage, in case different things happen. So there's a site here that where the closures, where the delays. So A lot of that information is over here. Are there bike racks and are they covered and secured? I don't think they're covered, but I know that some of the schools have bike racks. I remember seeing them at Liberty. I don't remember where they are at Issaquah High, but email me and I will look into it just to see. But I know when I worked at Issaquah Middle, we had a bike rack and the kids would put their locks, could lock it up. So we have cameras all over campus also, if that helps on all of the campuses. Um, so the snow route is really an important thing to note if we have bad weather. So the emergency transportation bulletin is going to be emailed to you, and it's going to talk a little bit more about what happens if school is they release the kids early, or what is 1 hour, 2 hour late start. So that site is actually very important and helpful in case of emergency. So familiarize yourself with that website because, as winter approaches, we never know what the weather is going to look like. So on the transportation, note that you have a schedule for Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and a separate schedule for Wednesdays. So it'll give you different pickup times and then different drop-off times. And then it gives you the address where you're going to be picked up. And note that the snow route is a separate route. And if it's a separate pickup location, you need to be aware of that because I don't live in a hill. My neighborhood is very flat. But for people who live in Talus and areas that there are big hills, usually the kids have to walk a little bit more to the bus stop because the buses can go up and down those hills. So those of you who live in areas that the bus might not be able to make it up, especially be aware of the snow route information as end of November, December approaches. Sports. So on Monday, we did an entire presentation on sports, ASB, and clubs. So if you missed it, I will include the slide deck for that presentation. It was very detailed and it had a lot of information in it. But each of the schools has so many sports available and different sports at different seasons. So they don't have sports like one specific sport played all season. So there are 4 seasons and sports are played at different times of the year. Many of the sports for fall season have already started. We encourage all students to look into different sports and see what sport might best fit their interest. I recommend if your child is not really sporty type to choose a sport that is a no-cut sport, because for cut sport, that means that your child will have to try out, and if they don't make it, they might be cut. And then if there's in some schools, there's an intramural team, but at the high school, there aren't many intramural teams, just varsity and junior varsity. So be aware of the different seasons. Make sure you have completed all your forms in a portal called Final Forms. And you need to make sure you have a physical in case your child is going to be participating in sports. So if you're new and you were not aware of all of those things, you might want to go and have your child have a sports physical, and then you may not be eligible for fall sports, but you might be, depending, you can check with the coach, but you might be eligible for winter sports. There is a fee that needs to be paid. It's $200, and you also have to make sure you have an ASB card prior to participation. So you won't be able to participate until you have that. And if you participate in 3 sports, the 4th sport is free. And so basically the spring sport, if your child likes to do sports every single season, they'll pay for 3 seasons and not the last one. If you need help, because it can be costly, check in with your bookkeeper and see if there's financial assistance available. So again, all of this information can be found if you go to the school's website under Student Life. Under athletics, you're going to see all of the information. So fall sports shows you what all the fall sports are. You can see the number of fall sports alone. Then you have your winter sports, and winter sports over here are listed. Okay, and one of the things the website has is who the coach is, so that you can email them, the time and location, and some background information on when it'll start, and some other information that you might need to know. So if your child is interested in sports, this is a great place to look for information. The final forms pages over here, who to contact for more information, and more information in general about sports can be found over here. But the big one is about registration and making sure that how do you register, final forms, and then costs and so forth, all of you paying for it, and physical. Now, that leads us to our next slide on clubs. And again, under student life, if you go to activities, you will see clubs listed over here. Okay, so under clubs, many times the conversation about clubs starts with ASB. And ASB is a new concept to many families coming from outside the country or maybe from private schools, or if they're homeschooled as such. And ASB means Associated Student Body. And that's basically every single student in the school is part of this group, and they elect officers, and those officers make decisions for the school. And so very often you'll hear about the ASB president or vice president or treasurer or secretary, and that's what they're talking about. And those people are usually in charge of planning activities. They're the ones who are looking at making change. It's a student government. And information on how to run for student government and what all of that is listed on this page. Next, clubs. Clubs at high school level are amazing. I'm going to click this button and you're going to see the many clubs. Okay, look at all these clubs. This is just A's, then B's, and just C's. There are so many clubs at the school. This is all three of the schools. So pretty much your child can find one, maybe two, maybe three clubs that they want to join. And that's fine, because very often the clubs meet at different days. And so that's possible. So for example, art club meets on Thursdays at 3 o'clock. But if they want to be an art club, and let's say chemistry club meets on Mondays, so they can do that. So these clubs are really designed for students to meet other friends, meet people like them, meet people not like them, but just people in general, so they can make some friends. It's about interest groups. Like for example, my daughter loved ceramics, and so she'd go to ceramics club, not every week, but every now and then she'd go to ceramics club and had a great time. There's Key Club with a lot of volunteer opportunities there. And so there are many clubs available over there at the school. So just check and see what your options are. Now, there are a few clubs that you need to be, they have a selective criteria. And so certain activities like ASB, it's not really a club because you need to have been elected there. Sports medicine is really based on the physical therapy class. Cheer, and certain things you need to be usually in a class or some kind of group so that you can be part of it. Like honor society, you need to be nominated and be part of the honor society. And then some of the fine arts mainly are music clubs. You have to be again in those classes. You need to be in band, choir, and sometimes you might not be, you're just highly qualified, but you don't have enough time in your schedule to take band and all the amazing classes you want to take. So that would be a conversation with that club advisor, but usually, so it says here, it's each group, there's an established criteria. So, just reach out to the advisor for more information. But the main thing for you to know about sports and clubs is it's a really good way if your child is new to the school district or the school to meet other kids. And if a club does not exist, but your child is interested in that activity and they find four other kids, so you need to have five, then you are also able to create new clubs. Now, the schools for their freshman orientation night very often have all the clubs out there so that kids can kind of go shopping and see the different clubs. Members of different clubs will be there, so they get to meet the people from different clubs and see who might be in those clubs so they can make friends. Really, sports and clubs is really the big part of the high school experience. It provides students with opportunities to engage with other kids, to really not focus purely on academics, but grow them as a whole student. So, sometimes it can be very draining to be focused just on academics. And so having these hobbies, these extracurriculars are very important. Also, having these extracurriculars are very important for college applications. And leadership in some of these clubs and sports can be very helpful again for college applications. So it's hard because it is good for them to engage with peers, but colleges are kind of also seeing that. So then it becomes a forced thing. So how do you balance that? So that takes us to how can you help your child? So high school, ninth grade can be overwhelming. And so really, I always say that it's really about being their coach. Talk to them about various interests for clubs and sports. Show them the Bell School website, the list of clubs and sports available. And it's really teaching kids and just not constantly, but just frequently reminding them, checking in with them so they know what to expect, helping them understand the bell schedule, if there's a different bell schedule, making sure that they don't want to be babied, but at the same time, you're giving them opportunities to be ready. How do you help them prepare? The first week of school, pack a lunch. The lunch lines are awful, they're long. And because so many students are new, sometimes kids don't remember their lunch number. And so that helps you go through it faster. And in case I skipped it, your lunch number is in Skyward. Under portfolio, there is area where it says lunch information, and so you can get the lunch number for your child. The person at the lunch counter can also help look up your child's lunch number and give your child the lunch number. So check in with your child and how things are going. And students are becoming more independent, and parents are encouraged to talk to their child and be the coach. And very often when I tell parents this, they're like, but they don't tell me anything. They just like, go to their room and they close their door. So it is really about being creative. It's about being patient and how to help support your child sometimes when your child doesn't want help, and how to help your child without annoying them and getting them to be angry at you that you are pushing too much. So it can be a very hard time of the year because they want your help, but they're also trying to test out their new independence. I would strongly recommend that you check grades and announcements in Canvas at least once a week. Some parents are set their Canvas notifications for on at the time that the teacher puts it in. I think that's a little bit too much. I usually set my Canvas notification for once a day. So at 6 o'clock, I get an email with information about my child's grades. Honestly, I don't look into it for details. And so we can see and look at that because kids are trying to figure out what they're doing, and you're talking to them about, do you need help versus why is your grade a B? So really, those are the conversations to have. One second. A parent is asking a question, and I'm just checking to see about grades if I have that in there. Okay, so I'm going to answer the questions about A and B when I get to high school credits and so forth. Okay, so communication with the teacher. So parents need to check on Canvas. Canvas is the main way teachers communicate with students and families. And honestly, they might post a notification for that class, or in your child's grade in Canvas, they might have a note. So you're going to see a little box, and that says that there's a note, and it might say assignment is missing, this needs to be done, or good job on this. So that is the communication. Very rarely are teachers going to send you individual emails or call you. So whatever notes you see on Canvas are pretty much it. So letters or notes from teachers may be posted in Family Access, but not really anymore. Teachers really only use Canvas to communicate with families. Teachers also may send periodic emails to students and families via Canvas. I know that my one of her teachers last year sent us an email every Monday morning, and it was amazing, but she was a sophomore and a freshman year. I honestly received maybe 2 or 3 emails from some teachers, and it was usually bring this to class, we're going to need it. So It depends on the teacher. Some teachers communicate a lot more, and others may not be sending emails as much. There's no expectation from teachers to be sending these emails. The main thing is they need to be posting grades um, in Canvas and updating parents on the child's progress with the grades periodically updated. So it might not even be a daily thing, it could be a weekly updates. So Canvas again is the main way to communicate with or to learn about your child's progress in school. Students are not going to come home with any kind of report card or paper flyers or paper letters from teachers. So it's really becomes up to the parent to be the one to read the school announcements, to read the school websites, to keep informed. Students are encouraged to advocate for themselves and speak to the teacher first. So very often the teachers are going to say, hey, if there's a problem, please do not, you as a parent, email me and say, what's going on? Why did my child get a B in this assignment? Or why does he have a zero in the assignment? So the student is first encouraged to send an email or talk to the teacher. And then once they have used their tools to figure out and advocate for themselves, and if that's not working, then you can come in sideways with them and include them and kind of help coach them. So I know like in 7th and 8th grade, I would have my daughter send emails to teachers and I would sit with her to help her write the emails so that I was teaching her how she could do it so that by the time she was a high school student, she could communicate with her teachers on her own, shy, and she had to learn. So again, this is where you come in as a coach. How can you help your child learn to advocate for themselves rather than you being the advocate? Now, there are some reasons why you may have to advocate for your child more, and those are different circumstances. So you know your child best on what you should do, but one of the things that I just want to make sure you understand is at the high school level, in the US school system, really the parents are encouraged to teach their child and have their child advocate for themselves and navigate the school and figure out that independence. So teacher support. So encourage your child to participate in class and get help from the teacher. That is a big thing. Very often students will not ask teachers for help, and teachers might have times during the week that they might say, if you need help, come and check in with me. So model on what that looks like. What does that conversation look like? So you might have to say, why don't you go and ask Miss Smith if she can? You might want to say, blah, blah, blah. Miss Smith, would you mind? Do you have time? When would be the best time to? So give them STEM sentences on how you can ask for help. Teach, so that way you're teaching your child how to advocate for themselves. And I'm going to honestly tell you that's going to come in really handy when your child goes to college and they have to do that in college with their professors and advocating for themselves with professors and talking to professors. So independence, because of that, independence is stressed because we're really getting them ready for that college life. Teachers have office hours or times that they can answer student questions. So find out from your child, or when you go to curriculum night, get that information and have the child email or ask the teacher for information and they can CC you. So you're both on it. So when my daughter emails her school counselor, sometimes she CCs me, sometimes she doesn't. Or if I email her school counselor, I always make sure that Tasha is also in that email because the counselor really wants to work with my daughter, not really with me as much, unless it's a big problem, but it's checking in and making sure that the child is really the lead or the one in control of their future. So the counselor's role. The counselor is a main point of contact or general support for all students in grades 9 through 12. So your child will be assigned a school counselor, and that school counselor will be their counselor from 9th grade all the way to 12th grade. If your child needs help, the best way to do is email the school counselor for help. Sometimes the school will have a form, a specific form that the school counselors want you to use. And the school counselors are divided by alphabet. So, counseling department, for example, here. So in the counseling department, you have different counselors. And you can see over here, the alphabet A through CE is one counselor, G through JO another one, and so forth. So your child's counselor is the one you can call or email. So now we just talked about schedules. Schedules were out. So what do you do if your child's schedule is incorrect or you need to change a class? So most of the schools have said, the counselors are super busy. Make sure you give them some time. They don't do it. Schedule changes at this time are really hard unless they are missing a class or there's a big scheduling conflict. So you can email your child's counselor and let them know, or sometimes schools might have a specific system. So check the school bulletin on what they want to do if you need to change your child's schedule. The counselor is also the liaison between teachers and parents. So sometimes if something big is going on, you might want to check in with the school counselor. If there's a death in the family, if there's um, anxiety, depression, different things. And for social emotional counseling, there's really no stigma. But note that school counselors don't really counsel for social emotional, but they might help give you resources. We have something called Care Solace that they might help connect you with. We have Swedish mental health counselors that they can connect you with. Anxiety and depression are really big in high school and middle school nowadays. So it's really important for us to be aware of some of the things our children might be going through, especially with social media being such a sometimes negative influence on our child's lives. So being and having some kind of connection with the counselor is great. Unless it's a big problem, wait till maybe October, November to connect with the counselor, just because right now they're super busy. Counselors will work with your child about academic plans and counseling and help them with future planning for classes. And those are kinds of conversation your child and you can have with the counselor sometime between October and March before you're getting ready for the choosing classes next year, or as the counselor's life is, you can see how busy your counselor is and when they have time to meet with you based on the level of need. Triage basically is what the counselors will be doing, level of need for your concern. So we talked about curriculum night, and the school district follows Common Core and Next Generation Science. If you are looking for more details about what your child will learn, because this is a new school system for you, I would recommend that you go to the school district's website. So this time it's better to go to the school district's website. And under the district website, you will see academics and high school curriculum and pathways. So for those of you who are new and you're not sure, okay, my child is taking Algebra 1 or geometry, what would be the next classes that they will be taking? So the course guide is listed over here, but also you can click over here for mathematics, English, fine arts, and see what the different kind of classes offered are and what does the math curriculum look like for different classes. So it kind of talks about Envision for this one. It talks about the standards for students. So you'll get more details about the standards, the curriculum, the requirements, all of that information for each one of these subjects your child might be doing in school. We'll have a slide on graduation requirements, which will be coming up next. So just common terms, a lot of new parents are unclear about. Ninth grader is a freshman, 10th grade is sophomore, 11th grade is a junior, 12th grade is a senior. And if you have a child as a freshman, keep this in mind always. They're the class of 2028. Very often 28 might be part of their email or part of a group that you will be connected with on Facebook or something that they're going to talk about graduation, and it becomes a big deal when your student is going to graduate the class in the year 2028. So I saw a lot of questions on IB and advanced placement. So in ninth grade, most kids don't take advanced placement. Advanced placement are a set of classes that are only offered at Issaquah High and at Skyline. And there are different advanced placement classes. It's a program where the teachers really teach a certain kind of curriculum and certain information, because the students will then take a test at the end of the sometime in middle to end of May. Usually ninth graders are not encouraged to take any AP classes. Usually they start taking AP classes as 10th grade and above. And again, only available at Issaquah High and at Liberty. Now, at IB is only offered at Skyline, and at Skyline, there is a person who is specifically, their job is to be a IB coordinator, and they will do a program on IB, college counseling. So they will do a presentation on IB. Right there, Spencer Phelan, he's the IB coordinator at the school. And so if you have any questions, go to the website and check out and see when is the next IB presentation, because usually an IB presentation happens around February, March as students are getting ready to register. Just note that the schools also have schedule change procedures that they have posted. So if you have any questions, so the counselors go to the website and see what information they have posted there. But some parents asked about Running Start and also CTE classes. All of that information is on the website. If you have a junior or a senior, your child could potentially be taking college classes in high school so they don't take it at the school itself. They have to go to Bellevue College or Central Washington University by Skyline to take these courses. And they're basically taking classes at Bellevue College or CWU, Central Washington University, and those classes count towards graduation requirements. There are some classes that are offered online for high school students, so you can look into that. And the online program classes, these are the classes that are offered, and there's an application, there's a deadline, and so you can look for more information for that. Sometimes some kids might take a class, but it's all online. There's no teacher. They have to take tests in person. So there's a lot about it. And so you might want to read more about it. And if you have any questions, you are welcome to talk to Stephanie Grayson or I think her name is Emily Tan. And both of them are in charge of, along with Carrie Recklin, who are great contact people for online learning. So next one, we have CTE classes. CTE is career and technical education. Very often you hear parents say, oh, I want my child to take STEM classes, STEM classes. So our school has a wide variety of STEM classes, and all of those classes that are STEM related are labeled CTE. There's a requirement that kids need to have at least one CTE class to graduate. So you can look at the course catalog and that'll tell you which classes are CTE classes, and then you can choose to take those classes. There's a lot of different information about that, and there's also a graduation pathway for students primarily wanting to just take CTE type classes. Okay. So grades, A, B, C, D. So when you are in class, your teacher is going to share with you what their grading scale is. And usually 90 to 100% is an A. And usually you have an A minus, and that's usually 90 to 92.9%. And then above a 93 is an A. Then you have a B plus, which is usually 87 to 89.9. Then you have a B. And so at the beginning of the school year, your teacher is going to share with you their syllabus that is going to include their grading scale. If your child gets a grade less than a D, then your child does not get credit, as is on the slide. So they need to get credit for their classes, and then they accumulate credits in order to graduate. In Washington State and the Issaquah School District, they need 24 credits in order to graduate. So every single class is half a credit. So this semester, your child is most likely taking 7 classes, so they'll earn 3.5 credits this semester, and next semester they'll earn another 3.5 for a total of 7. If they get all the credits every single year, they'll end up with 28 credits. If your child transferred to Issaquah School District from a different school system, they looked at their transcript and grades to see if they're coming in with any credits or have completed anything to get credits, because they want to make sure that, especially for juniors and seniors, if let's say you're moving from China and you're 16 years old, they're going to look at the transcript to see how many of them are transferable and would equate to credits in the Issaquah School District, because Washington State sets these standards. And I do not help with that. The school will look at it, the counselors will look at it. If the transcript is in a different language, they'll translate it, but they will talk to some specialists to see which classes that you've taken already you will get credit for, and then using that information, you will start taking classes to accumulate these class credits in order to graduate. Now, you can earn up to 28 credits during the course of the child's 4 years in high school, but again, you only need 24 to graduate. So it gives some students the leeway if they failed the class, or maybe they came to school from a different district and they're missing some things. Also, if you want to earn more than that, you can take summer school classes online, and you can take other classes. So there are different opportunities to get classes outside of the actual high school, especially if you're a junior or a senior. But those are the kinds of things you're going to want to talk to your high school counselor about after your freshman year to see where you are with the credit cycle and your path to graduate. And students talk a lot about that. There's also a link in Family Access that helps you track your child's credits. So how to earn credit, graduate from the high school? Students need to earn a minimum number of high school credits. The credits that students have to meet academic requirements, and the passing grade is A, B, C, or D, and anything less than a 59.9% or lower, they don't get credit for. So check your teacher's syllabus to see what the grading scale is. Most school teachers at every school have the same grading scale. So what are the requirements? And here are the requirements. Students need 4 credits of English, 3 credits of social studies, and these change a little bit because it's a little bit more fluid, but up to 3, and then it'll tell you exactly which kinds of classes you need. They need 3 credits of algebra, including a minimum through algebra 2. Okay, so if a child's starting in 9th grade with algebra 1, 10th grade geometry, 3rd year they can take algebra 2. If they're not quite ready for algebra 2, they can take another class, like a pre-algebra 2 class, and then their senior year algebra 2. Or if they don't really not interested in math that much, they can take other classes their senior year after they've taken algebra 2. The school offers a variety of classes, including AP calculus, statistics, many AP classes in math. So there are many options. It just depends on what your child's interested in. Science, to graduate, your child needs 2 lab sciences. So that would be biology, chemistry, or physics, and 1 other science. So for a total of 3. World language, your child needs to have 2 years of a world language, and there are schools offer French, Spanish. Nearly all schools, I believe, offer Chinese. ASL is also offered. Also, if your child is fluent reading, writing, speaking, and listening in another language, I would strongly recommend that you have them take a competency test. And based on their score in that competency test, they can automatically earn up to 4 world language credits. And especially they get that 4 credits, they'll also get a seal of biliteracy on their high school transcript. So being bilingual or multilingual is great. You can use that to your advantage by taking this test and getting credits for that class. And if they have that, let's say they're fluent in Hindi, they take the test, they get a 4. In school, they can still take Spanish or French or Chinese or ASL and get more credits. And those credits would just kind of be counted here as elective. So it depends on your child. Career and technical education, I said that students need to have at least 1 credit. Students need to take up to 1.5 credits of PE. And taking PE in high school versus outside or using sports, certain sports that they're participating in, activities they're participating in, are options. So check with your child's counselor because you need permission before you do that. Health is also a class, 0.5 health is also required, and fine arts or applied arts, or 2 credits of arts is also required for graduation. And just note that colleges usually only require 1. So this is what's required for a diploma to graduate. And this is what most 4-year colleges, including University of Washington, usually require as a child is applying to college their senior year. But if you're applying to your child knows that they want to go to a certain college, I would recommend that you also look at those colleges, see what the requirements are for entrance, and then also kind of work backwards and say, what can I do? What can my child do so that they're ready for that? But it's again a balance because what they might want to do now in 9th grade might change by the time they're senior. So how do we balance that? How do we make sure that they're growing? We're not pushing them, we're not causing them anxiety. So again, being a parent of high school children can be hard. Okay, so about you, what can you do? So volunteer opportunities. If at all possible, join your high school's PTSA. The PTSA is a great group to be joined to, just because sometimes they post really good reminders and information for students who might be coming up or taking SATs, like have you signed up for your SAT? Just things like that, because there's so many things going on sometimes that it can be hard to keep up with all of the information, especially if you're new. You know, prom is coming, homecoming is coming, Tolo is coming. So those are the kinds of things that they might post in PTSA, and it's a group of parents, and so it's also a great support system because again, I want to make sure besides staff and the liaisons, you're not alone. There are many parents out there who are very happy to help you in this parent community. So the school district has a Facebook site and it has an Instagram site. The many schools have social media groups. It's completely up to your preference. Some people really hate social media, so you don't need to join. But these are just options and opportunities to connect with other parents, to keep up with what's going on in the school. I follow my child's high school Instagram page. It helps me a lot. I absolutely dislike social media, but I force myself to check my Facebook and social media. Honestly, just the school announcements and then black cats because I'm a cat lover. But otherwise, I'm not really a big Facebook person. Okay, so we are about to wrap up. These are some of the upcoming events for this group. If you just have general questions, we also have an event called Family Connections. We have meetings and they're just open forums, nothing formal, but it's just a time for parents to come and say, I just don't understand blah, blah, blah. My child wants to start a sport next month, tell me about this. Or what is this thing about homecoming or prom or yearbook? And they just ask questions. So it is very helpful usually for elementary and middle school as they're trying to figure out the big picture. If you're trying to understand philosophy of school systems, if you're trying to get specific answers on navigating schools and who to contact, policies and procedures. So I invite you to come to that event. If you find out in October that you have questions and you just want a space to kind of talk and hear what other parents are asking and discussing. And then here's some resources. Last year's event, I'm also going to share with you the site to our page that we had information about financial aid, because some people always want to know more about what do I need to do to plan for college, like what are some thoughts to have, and then the Running Start, the Wannick presentation. So all of this, there are some resources on the website, and I'll send you the link to that so you can have that after the presentation once you have completed the feedback form. So again, here's a QR code for the feedback form. I will post the feedback form again for you in chat. So if you joined late, you can see the feedback form. There we go. So at this time, we are officially done with my presentation, and you are welcome to unmute. I'm going to stop recording.